Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, oh yeah, Hosea, Joel, Amos and Obadiah, Jonah and Micah, Nahum and Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, and 400 years go by. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts and Romans, First Corinthians, Second Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, First Thessalonians, Second Thessalonians, First Timothy, Second Timothy, Titus and Philemon, Hebrews and James, and 1, 2 Peter, 1, 2, 3 John, Jude and the Revelation. These are the books of the Bible. I read it for my survival every day. I hide God's word away inside my heart. It's the only way to start. I hide God's word in my heart every day.
Welcome to week 2 of Look at the Book. This lesson is called How Can We Know the Bible is True? Now, just like the first week, we're starting with our list of goals, and our first one is for you to become convinced that the Bible is true. Next, we'd like you to be overwhelmed by the evidence that proves that. And third, for you to allow the truth to invade your lives. Let's read the Psalm 119, 160 together, and let's concentrate on memorizing and working on memorizing that this week, because it sends a message to all of us, no matter what age we are. So let's read this together. I will hasten and not delay to obey your commands. Let's read it again. I will hasten and not delay to obey your commands. Now, I will hasten means what? Hasten means to hurry. I will hurry, God. And secondly, I'm not going to wait. So I'm going to hurry, and I'm not going to wait to obey what you have me do. And I think one of the things you're doing is being here, is learning about his word. So you are being obedient to God's commands. So good for you. Now we want to do a little exercise and have a little fun with this game, calling the statements that I'm going to read out to you that you'd relate as either true or false. Respond with what you think, and then afterwards we'll reveal the answer. Professional baseball umpires are required to wear black underwear. Is that a fact or fiction, true or false? Next, humans have unique fingerprints. Gorillas have unique nose prints. Fact or fiction, true or false? The most popular pet name in the U.S. is Smokey. True or false? And lastly, the average American eats 46 slices of pizza per year. Now, do you want to know the answers? Well, let's look. Yep, it's true. Professional baseball umpires are required to wear black underwear. I don't want to know why. Next, humans have unique fingerprints. Gorillas have nose prints. That is a fact. That is true. The most popular pet name in the U.S. is Smokey. Nope, that one is untrue. That's false. That is true that the most popular pet name is Max. And lastly, the average American eats 46 slices of pizza per year. And yep, that's true. Now, I don't know how well you did. but I've got a few questions for you anyhow. How could anyone know whether or not what I just asked you was true or false? I'm guessing it's because you trust me. Thank you. But is there truth available somewhere out there where you could find out for sure, even if you didn't trust me to tell you the truth? Well, all of the questions we just went through are relatively unimportant, aren't they? But now we're going to tackle the most important question of all. Is the Bible true? First question I want to ask, why does it matter if the Bible is true? There's so much information available. We're going to dig it right through it. You may be overwhelmed with the sheer amount of evidence we have to support that the Bible is true. And so let's now get after it, shall we? There are three basic areas of evidence that we're going to explore: fulfilled prophecy, archaeological support, and historical evidence. Fulfilled prophecy. Now, chances are you've all seen magic 8 balls or horoscopes or other things that attempt to predict the future. Of course, they often prove unreliable or vague or just downright wrong. Not so with biblical prophecy. See, there are numerous prophecies recorded in the Old Testament that come true in the New Testament. Unlike modern day attempts to read palms or tarot cards, these predictions are specific, not general. Let's explore a few of them. Now, this in class, we're going to have every other student look up the prophetic prediction and then have another student look up the New Testament fulfillment. I really want you to dig in and let you discover the truth of this point firsthand. We might not have time to do every single one, but we can at least do some. In fact, I'll just list you a couple. Let's just do a couple. The first, and you might want to write this down and then pause the video if you're enjoying this via video. The first representation of an Old Testament prophecy that is fulfilled in the New Testament comes from Micah 5:2 and Luke 24:4-7. Now, that prediction said that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. That's a huge prediction. You know why? Because Bethlehem was a teeny tiny little town. And for somebody 400 years ahead of time to know that where Jesus was going to be born, you know that God had his hand in that, right? The next one is Psalm 22:16 and John 19:18. This is an amazing one to me. Jesus would have had his hands, feet pierced on the cross, remember? Well, the point is in Psalm 22, that was predicted before crucifixion was even invented. They told us that our Savior would be pierced, his hands and feet would be pierced, even though that practice did not even take place at that time. There are other prophecies predicted in the Bible that came true and are confirmed by non-biblical evidence. Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. They predict the destruction of Jerusalem. In 70 AD, it happened. That was 40 years after Jesus died. And it's recorded by the Roman historian Josephus. Jeremiah predicts the reinstatement of Israel as a nation in Jeremiah 31. That was thought to be a joke of a prediction until when? Until after Second World War in 1948, when Israel was a country again after almost 2,000 years of non-existence. When it comes down to it, Isaiah 53, that chapter alone predicts 15 different things about the Messiah that came true in the life of Jesus. 15 of these prophecies came true from one chapter. The truth is, there are hundreds of prophecies about Jesus, about countries, about kings, about world events in the Bible. Not one of these has been proven false yet. So, when you hear some of these prophecies, what do you think? How do you feel? What does it do for your faith? How do these predictions help demonstrate that the Bible is true? Okay, that was prophetic support. How about archaeology? If the Bible says that Jericho was in a certain place and archaeology verifies it, that fact does not prove everything in the Bible is true, right? Archaeology cannot prove spiritual truths. It does, however, mean that the Bible is more trustworthy in general, and for that reason, we can't ignore it. Let me say in the most upfront manner that I possibly can, archaeology has never proven the Bible false. There are some things it hasn't yet supported, but it has never proven it false. Let me mention some things that have been supported. Again, as I roll through it, be in awe of how much evidence there is available. Support number one. This is our archaeological support number one. Luke, the author of the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts, has been proven accurate by archaeology in regard to 32 references to countries, 54 cities, and 9 islands. That's 95 different geographical references, all of which have been supported by archaeology. Support number two, John, the author of the Gospel of John, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and Revelation, mentions in the Gospel that near the Pool of Bethesda, there are 5 porches. Now, for years, archaeologists believed John was wrong. No such place had been discovered. But recently, 40 feet underground, 5 porches were discovered. How about number 3? The most ancient textual evidence we have is a portion of the Gospel of John on ancient paper called papyrus that's dated just after 100 AD. No other ancient document enjoys such compelling manuscript evidence. What do some of those facts cause you to think about whether or not the Bible is true? I'm betting it helps.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job, Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, and Hosea, Joel and Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. It's a letter from God that sets everyone free, a gift for you, for me. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job, Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, and Hosea, Joel and Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. It's a letter from God that sets everyone free, a gift for you, for me. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. It's a letter from God that sets everyone free, a gift for you, for me. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible. These are the books of the Bible, the wonderful books of the Bible.
Okay, how about historical evidence? How many of you like history? Raise your hand. How many of you can't stand it? Raise your hand. No matter what you think of history, the fact is there are some facts in history that are indisputable. What is an event in history that you know for a fact occurred? Now, since we're doing this via video, I'm going to plant one in your head. How about the fact that George Washington was the first president of the United States? Do you believe that to be true? Well, how can you know that that is true? How much evidence do you think it takes to prove something like that true? Does only one person have to record it, or a few? What does it take to verify something in history as having actually happened? When it comes to the Bible, we have a lot of historical evidence. And we not only have a lot, but we have it from several different sources. Let's explore what we have. At the end, I'll ask you if you think that's enough to prove that the Bible is historically accurate. First, support number one, historically speaking, a piece of writing was passed along on animal skins or papyrus, which is sort of like paper. What exists of those copies is referred to as manuscript evidence. We're just going to call them ancient copies. We have over 24,000 ancient copies of the New Testament alone. In case you are wondering, that's a lot. More than any other ancient writing. Consider this, support number two. Here you see a list of secular writers, philosophers, historians. Well, let's just read a couple as an example. Let's draw out that comparison for you. It might need to be repeated because it's an important point that we have to grasp. How many of you heard of Aristotle? He was a philosopher who lived and wrote around 300 BC. However, we only have 5 copies of anything he wrote. 5. How many do we have of the New Testament alone, ladies and gents? 24,000. Tacitus, he was a Greek historian. He actually wrote just a little after the Bible was completed. We have a lot from him. Guess how many? Well, the answer is 20 copies of what he wrote. New Testament copies? 24,000. That's right. As you can see, the historical evidence of the Bible is huge. No one doubts Aristotle. No one doubts Tacitus wrote the copies we have in our possession. And we've only got a few of them. Why would anyone doubt the Bible when it has over 1,000 times more ancient copies than anything else? But there's more. Ever play the telephone game? There's a simple truth to that game. The further the words got from the beginning, the easier it was for them to get messed up, right? That's one argument against the Bible. How can we have what the original writers intended to say? It must have been twisted to what others wanted it to say, et cetera, et cetera. Those are fair criticisms. Just because we have a lot of ancient copies doesn't make them reliable. So like the game of telephone, we have to figure out how close the ancient copies we have are to the originals. Again, the Bible trumps all other ancient documents. Take a look at that chart again. Let's consider Aristotle again. He lived in 300 BC, and the earliest copy we have of anything he wrote is from 1100 AD, some 1,400 years earlier. 1,400 years after he wrote it. That's a long time. For sure. Tacitus is another example. His earliest copy is 1,000 years from when he lived. In fact, the shortest span of time between the author's life and the earliest copy is 800 years. So the Bible, on the other hand, is much closer. And as you know, there are 24,000 copies. We have the New Testament. 230 of them date before 600 AD, a difference of only 550 years or so. And some of those copies date much closer. In the last 20 or so years, a study has been conducted on a portion of Matthew's gospel that some believe is either an original or was copied while Matthew was still alive. There is most definitely a piece of a copy of the Gospel of John that dates to 125 AD. That's perhaps as soon as 35 years after John died. With all that evidence, with all that closeness of the issuance of the manuscript to the original, why would we doubt the accuracy of the Bible? Let me ask you again, do you think that it's enough to say that the Bible is probably true? On top of that evidence, consider the archaeological evidence. On top of that, consider the prophetic evidence that we've already discussed. And there's a lot more we didn't cover. The Bible is a trustworthy document. Well, let's keep it real. Truth matters. If the Bible isn't true, we are all wasting our time. We've explored whether or not the Bible is true. And if you want to study more, there's a lot more things that you can read and delve into. God bless you all. See you next week.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, oh yeah, Hosea, Joel, Amos and Obadiah, Jonah and Micah, Nahum and Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, and 400 years go by. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts and Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus,